find their real agenda opening up in your face. And unfortunately, I know women and colleagues of mine as a medical doctor that have lost half of everything they own just because of this part where we stay in this part of the world. Following a divorce, whatever you've had, whatever you've built, the houses, the cars, the businesses, your savings, your tax-free savings, everything is split in half across board. What would be some words of advice for these women? And unfortunately, most of them have to choose between staying in that toxic relationship where they keep feeding this monster that's insatiable, because as you mentioned, there's nothing. You keep giving and giving and giving and giving, but because they have an agenda that even you don't know, you're stuck because you feel if I leave, I'm going to lose half of what I have. If I stay, I have to endure abuse and I have to keep giving to this guy. What would be your advice for the woman that has found herself in this particular circumstance, like right now, or maybe I'm going ahead of myself? What are some of the triggers? What are some of the red flags that you would advise women to look out for in this sort of men?
Okay, I'm glad.
Then we'll now go to getting out of it.
I'm glad that you changed it, because my head was spinning trying to think of how one should respond in that kind of situation. The red flags are actually quite. I would have liked to say simple to spot, but I can't say that because it's simple to spot to a person who is aware that you are already aware that there is a possibility. What we don't realize and recognize, a lot of us human beings, what we don't realize and recognize is that just because you care about someone and you love them infinitely, that is no guarantee that it's going to be reciprocated. What we're lacking is understanding of psychology and the way the human being's complexities work. Everybody, even twins who are brought up in the same family, who went through gestation in the same belly, come out, have experiences that shape them. And so all of us are different. We're complex. We're carrying different things from the things that we've experienced in life. And so therefore we have different expectations. But when you're coming from a place where you're not taking those into consideration, you're thinking that if I care about this person and I do everything good for this person, then this person is going to recognize that and reciprocate.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Nobody owes anybody any reciprocity. That's a fact. It'll be good, yes, if you reciprocate, right? But reciprocity also does not mean that it has to be equal in the way that you're doing it, right? Because they may have an agenda. This person may be coming from a place where they have been downtrodden, right? So we're talking about finances now. Maybe they've been downtrodden and all that they want, or maybe they're coming from a very lowly background, and all that they want is to place themselves on a pedestal or in a position that helps the people in their background. And they're laser focused on that, right?
Yeah.
So when they meet you, if they meet you as a financially buoyant woman who is, all over them, maybe they see you as a target now, right? And you have a function in their minds. Do you understand? So what I say is, let's be a little careful. I don't always want to just jump to say this is wickedness. First, I want us to go into the mind of that person. Why is the person doing what they're doing? This person is doing it because he sees it as a need for himself.
Yep.
I know it is wickedness and it is selfishness, but that's not the first thing that I want us to go to, because when we do that, we get distracted with the real root of what is going on here. So what is going on here is that this person has a need. It's what their life experience has for it. I am not going to be considering your needs when I have my needs, right? It's important to him to be in that position where his background and family and everybody will see him now that he has arrived. All the schoolmates that he went to school with who were looking down on him will see him now that he has arrived. So you've got to understand the person's psyche and what is important to them. When you know what is important to them, you will understand if you're playing a role to help them to achieve what is important to them. That role that you're playing, is that a role that you want to play in this person's life? We have to go
And it's called
beyond the surface.
enabling. Yeah, absolutely. And it's called enabling. I think what happens is, as a woman, and you're a woman as well. First, you've talked about the role of education. So we really need to be educated. And I would say, the people always say, oh, women are very emotional, women are very emotional. But what I now want to advise, I don't know if you agree with me, is that we need to be more factual as women, as mature older women, when we're going into relationships. Yes, this guy has come, he's your 6 foot, he's your ideal person, he's showing you so much love. All of that will whip up emotions, isn't it? So how do you now get your facts straightened out? I think one of the greatest weapons, or one of the greatest things that you can use, is time, is the gift of time. Because no matter how much this person wants to pretend or make you believe,
they can do it
that
247. They can't do it 247, 365. They can't do it 247, 365 days a year.
But for how long? How long can you sustain it? Because what I find is such individuals actually would also put you under pressure. They'll put you under pressure to commit. I don't know what your thoughts are about that. They will put you under pressure. And I think pressure is a red flag.
Yes. Okay, you're talking about red flags. Yes. Perfect. Yes. I never even got to that. So pressure, speed is a red flag. And the reasons will be because you cannot be someone else 247, right? So you are in a hurry to get, I'm in a hurry to get you roped into this thing before I begin to show, before my mask begins to slip, right? Before I begin to show my true color. So I need to, if it's a marriage or whatever, I need to get you roped in. In fact, even if it's not a marriage, even if it's just a relationship, because as you said, women are emotional, and everybody knows this now. So it's important that we should always give room to our emotions, right? Because that's part of what makes us human. And you cannot deny yourself or deprive yourself of that part of you. Otherwise, you're going to feel stunted. So that is important. But it is very necessary that we look at the facts. So one of the red flags, yes, speed. And another is, actually, if I meet you and I don't know you so well, and I start to profess how much I love you, that kind of thing, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense, really. But the thing is that we have been watching Disney. We've been reading romance novels. We've been seeing all those things. And those things, they affect your perception and understanding of reality, right? So for me, I'm very big on our culture now. I wasn't that way before. I realize now that if we took more, that when people were, those days, those people who were bringing up their children away from Nigeria, when the kids were approaching the teenage years, they will be sent home to go and do what? Tell me what they were sending them home to go and do. To go what? Learn common sense. To go learn common sense. And even those of us who grew up in the cities, they were calling us what? Ajebo. Because those other ones, the local ones, did what? They seem to have more common sense.
Absolutely.
It's simple. But when you're not immersed in the culture, you are so you are sold the ideas that you see on TV. And these are the things that get people killed. So you're sold the idea that you can just meet someone and you just saw her and you just mesmerized. And so when you meet a man who seems to be mesmerized by you, you feel like it's normal, but it's not normal. You're muted. It makes no sense because he doesn't know me. If you don't know me, what are you loving? You don't even know if I'm you don't know if I'm bipolar.
Exactly.
You don't know. You don't know if I am just looking for someone to use for something. So if you don't know me and you're claiming that you love me, and so speed and an early profession of love and admiration, you've got to tell me, what is it that you love?
You love. How can you know what you don't know? Two things now. So there are two things. Richard, thank you so much. Says, How can you be factual in a mature relationship? How do you even go about that without emotion?
No. Nobody's
And
saying you should do it
how
without
can we do
emotion.
that? And the second question is, you talk about going back home and the role of culture. How about the role of religion? Where people just come, profess that I'm a Christian, I'm tongue speaking, I'm a pastor. The Lord says you are my wife.
That is one of the
And
biggest.
Indian women have fallen for that as well. Let's just address that question from Richard, saying that how can you be factual and emotional? Don't forget, we're talking about mature, older women that are financially stable. Do you understand? Because I feel that you can't just you can't just apply the same set of rules that you'd apply to a 20-year-old that has never been married, to a 40-year-old CEO of a company, and both of them are kind of looking for a relationship. I'd like you to tackle that. Facts versus emotions for the mature older woman, and the role of religion in settling down in relationships. Over to you.
Yeah. There is I don't see a problem with, he says, how can we go about that without emotion? No, like I think I said it just about 5 minutes ago. I would never suggest that we put emotion away. It's part of who we are. It's part of our makeup, right? And in fact, if you do that, you won't be happy. You know that you won't be happy. Or tell me if I'm wrong, Tope. You won't be happy. And therefore, if you're doing that, what's the point of having the relationship, right? At least I will never put my emotions aside. But while I keep my emotions there, the facts have to be on the side as well. Emotions here, facts here. And I'm looking at those facts, and I'm looking at these red flags. Do I see any of these red flags? And do I also see the green flags? How much of the green flags do I see? Weigh the green flags against the red flags. Does this person show that they care about me? Of course, they're going to be pretending if they're coming here and I'm a target. They're going to be pretending. But pretense is only surface. Not only can you not keep it up 24/7, you'll be sleeping, and there will be other things. There'll be things happening in our lives. We're still living in this world, right? Things will be happening in my life and in your life with other people. There'll be other interactions. And I'm going to know what type of person you are by the way you respond to the things that are happening, even in your life, in your interactions with other people. It doesn't really matter what he's doing with me, because for me, he's going to give me exactly what I need to see. Right? So who is this person? There is news on the television. There is news on social media. Things are happening in the world. What is this person's perspective? What does he say about those things? That gives you an inkling into the way that he reasons. And you cannot say, because I feel so mushy about him, what he's saying and the way he feels about other things don't matter. Even politics. I'm telling you, anything, even football, like there's a match, you watch a match or you hear about something and the referee did something unfair and all that. What is his response to it? Do you understand? So get into the mind of this person. How does he reason? How does he see things? Right? If you want to just, if you think it's a walk in the park, you're going to get yourself hurt. You have to pay attention to this person. What is this person's response to things that are happening in life? Don't forget about yourself, because he's always going to be good to you for the time being until he gets you in his trap, right? So what is his relationship with even his family, with the people around him, with the people that he went to school with his classmates, with his old friends? If you don't pay attention to those things, because again, as he said, women are so emotional. If you're so emotional and you're all laser focused on him and you're all tuned into him, you're going to be in trouble, because if you don't weigh his relationships with other people and the world and everything else that is happening, I said even things that don't concern you, like football and other things. Do you understand what I'm saying? You need to see the way this person reasons, right? So if he reasons in a way that, if you see that this is a rational human being, then you will know that he can take rational decisions with you as well and in your relationship. That's what I think, right? But I'll tell you what, when we come to religion, I think that we have the strongest weapon for those who are even who even believe in a religious system, right? When I say that, I'd like to separate these things, because being religious is quite different from living according to the tenets of the religion, right? So to start with, I say that for us, we Nigerians, we believe in God or Allah, or we're doing traditional African practice, right?
Yeah.
But I am certain that those three different groups have two things that are the most important. I am certain of that. Tell me if I'm wrong. One of them is your relationship with your maker, your relationship with your chi. For us Nigeria, for us Igbos, the traditional ones will say chi, right? Which, if we translate, is God, right? And then for Muslims and for Christians, it's Allah and God. So your relationship with God first, and then your relationship with other human beings. And you see, even the constitutions of every country, everything that we do, nature promotes your relationship with. That is what the constitutions are based on. That's why if you steal, they'll say you've committed a crime because you've stolen somebody else's property, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If you kill, it's another person's life. So everything is rooted on your relationship with either your relationship with God and your relationship with other people. So if you keep that in mind, it means that when you are dealing with someone who treats other people, what does the one for Christians say? It says love your neighbor as yourself. That's what it says, right?
About yourself, one to others as you'd expect them to do to you.
Exactly. So if you keep that in mind, when this person is speaking about the football match and what the referee did, when they're talking about politics, when they're talking about whatever they saw on the news, when they're talking about world events, when they're talking about their family and their friends and all that, does this person speak like someone who treats other people the way that he would like to? Is he a fair person?
Absolutely.
And any of them who is listening to this, who thinks that they can adopt this tactic now and use it to trick somebody by pretending to be a fair person, ain't gonna work. It's not going to work because
Exactly.
you're not going to be able to maintain that 247. That you will sleep.
I think. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Uzo. How you treat others really matters, no matter what it is that you're professing. Let's go back to this mature, older, single, financially secure woman. You know, in our culture, we can be put under a lot of pressure. Especially when you're getting older, they go, oh, time is ticking, the clock is ticking. When are you going to settle down? And your aunties would introduce people, your parents would introduce people, your friends would say, oh, I have a friend here, and so on and so forth. Going back to the finances table, so your cousin or your auntie has this wonderful friend. They say, oh, he's a great guy. I think it's going to be a good fit for you, the CEO of your company, on a 7-figure salary. But he works at McDonald's, he's still just trying to find his feet. He doesn't have papers in the country, but he's a wonderful man. I know him. Why did we find some mature women marrying down? And I don't say that in a condescending manner, but you're a CEO. This is somebody working in McDonald's. It doesn't make him a bad person. But how will a mature woman, how should a mature woman deal with that kind of scenario? Because one, educationally, you're probably not on the same level. Financially, you're definitely not on the same level, but he's a good husband material. Is it okay and is it safe to marry down? That's my question.
Okay, before I answer that,
there will not be a straightforward answer here, but I'll leave it to you.
Before I answer that, I just remembered that there's one more thing about the religion one, and then I'll come back to this one. The religion one, because we have a lot of people who do not actually abide by the tenets, but believe that, because it's being just religious to meet a man who says that he's a pastor or he's a Christian, and because of that you choose to marry him, and even when he displays things that are very unchristian, for instance, even a few months, even right now, we have a lot of big pastors in Nigeria who we see doing very nasty things, and they're not even hiding them. Those things are very clear. They put them on video and they put them out there. And you see, when people talk about them, you see their followers say you cannot talk about a man of God, right? That is being religious, because you have a Bible that tells you that you should test every spirit and that there will be false prophets. and that you should treat other people as you would be treated yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. But you see these people who are doing these things that are the direct opposite. The same way that you see a man who comes and professes to be a Christian. So you see those things, but you are so blinded by being religious is just accepting it because it comes in the name of God, or in the name of Christianity, or in the name of religion, and you accept it to your own detriment. That is music that you've decided to play for yourself, and so you must dance to it, right? So yeah, so we have to be watchful and mindful of that. Now, going back to this, marrying down, it's really difficult to give an answer to that, right? But I don't think it would be safe to say what I would say straight if you ask me. But it's a very complex thing, because you might meet a man like that. One might meet a man like that, and he might actually be a very decent man. He might be a decent man, and he has but being a good person and being a decent person isn't enough to be compatible with someone. There is compatibility. Compatibility is a very big issue, because you can be very good. You can be a very good person, but there will be complexities and difficulties, because a man like that, the truth is, we have men. We have men.
Richard says you should say it, please, about marrying down. Yeah. He wants you to really say something about that. And Richard, please feel free to share this broadcast. Yes. You have my full permission, and I hope that's okay for with you. So, marrying down, we really need to look at it. I'm talking about the mature, single, independent, financially stable woman. And don't forget the cultural piece as well. The man is supposed to be the head of the house. Over to you, Zo.
Yes.
So we are marrying down. You say maybe you'll be compatible. He's the head. Yes. You're supposed to be submissive and everything. Yes. But at the end of the day, he earns $15 per hour, and you are on $600,000 a year.
Yes.
Over to you.
So that's where the issues would come in, because sometimes, you may want to do something because you are used to this way of living, and this man feels that what you're doing is not what you should be doing, right? Because he's a good person and he's a decent person, and so he's also frugal because of what he's used to, because of the lifestyle that he's used to. And so I've actually had someone telling me about that. You want to go on a holiday, and this man says you cannot, because that's an unnecessary luxury, right? But it's your money, you have sweated for it, and you want to do that. And he feels that money should be put to use in another thing that he feels should take more priority, right? And so when you now don't bow to that, he feels that you're not following his leadership, because he's the man, and just because you earn so much more means that now he doesn't have a say in the way that your finances are run in that home, right? And even the most decent of women will have a very hard time carrying the most decent of men along in a situation like this. So we should give a lot of weight to compatibility. Before you can figure out if this man that you're thinking about marrying, if you're going to marry down, before you can actually figure out whether you're going to work well, you're going to have to pass through so many landmines, right? You're going to have to give it so much time. I don't know if that time is actually worth it, right? Because but even if you marry someone who is on the same level as you are, the same status, you still have problems. You still have problems. And I can't say that you even have less problems. I can't. But if I already know that there are already going to be issues, and on my special days or something, maybe I want to be celebrated, but he's not going to be able to do that because he doesn't have it. And he may not want to ask me because he's a good person. He's a decent person. He doesn't want to take money from me. But here I am, being an emotional being, wanting, for once, let my man be the one who will do this for me, right? And yes. And then, in fact, there are so many decisions that you want to take. Let's even go outside of emotional things. There are many things that you want to do. Let's go outside of luxuries, right? There will be things that that will need to be done in life, you will have to take the leadership position in doing those things because you have the money, you have the resources, and you are used to thinking this way, you're used to doing these things. So when you're coming up with plans and all that, you'll find yourself as a woman, several times you're going to make plans for your family and for the couple. Guess what happens when you're
Exactly. So
making
you're
plans
trying
over and
to
over?
take on the driver's seat,
Yes.
which culturally is frowned at.
You know,
Don't forget,
I-
the man is the head.
Yeah.
It might depend on the dynamics of your relationship as well. You know, and you see now, Richard says, if a mature woman is marrying down, can she really respect the man if she doesn't fear God? And Richard, I just want to say a quick thing here, because unfortunately I have married down. Okay, and I have found myself in my past taking the driver's seat and just saying, look, this guy won't get up, this guy won't do stuff, let me do it. And what did that lead to? Resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I try to show that I care, the more I try to show that I love, the more I try to take that driver's seat, it was difficult. Recently online, I found someone, it was like a skit, a nice joke, and the woman was like, you expect your woman, your wife, to pay the bills, to take you on vacations, pay the fees for the children, and then you want her to be submissive? How on earth does that happen? And don't get me wrong, there are relationships where the women earn much more than the man. And when I say what the man is bringing to the table, it might not always be money for money.
Mm-hmm.
The man might do so many other things for you in that relationship. Mm-hmm. I just want the antenna of the mature, single, older woman to be really up. I'm not saying that, and some women even feel that, oh, if I'm on a six-figure salary, at my age, how will I find a man that is comfortable enough to look after me? It's probably best for me to marry down. So there are lots and lots. And I think, like you said, there are many facets to it. But as mature women, we just need to have the antenna up. It can't just be the emotions. We need to talk about the facts too.
Okay.
Over to you.
I even like the direction that both of you took it to right now. So, as I was saying, you will need to, there'll be things that life is happening, right? And somebody needs to make plans for the family, to put yourselves on a direction, right? And this woman is going to find herself doing so many of these things because she has the wherewithal, she has the resources, and she's been used to doing these things. By the time you do a lot, you do over and over and over and over. I actually think that that naturally we're even wired to want a man's leadership. That's what I think. You know, it's my observation and experience.
Absolutely.
We want a man's leadership. By the time you do it several times, you kind of start to feel like you're carrying a load, you're carrying a burden, you know, and it doesn't feel good. And even if you do fear God and you do love this man, but you understand that you are now not living as a woman. You actually understand it. You are not living as a woman. The feeling of living like a man, you have become a man, right? So now let's go on the other side, on the flip side. It's still possible to do this, right? But that man has got to be a gem. Because the way he's going to come is he's going to know, he's got to be a man who knows that, look, God put me on the face of the earth for a purpose. I was made in the image of God, according to those who read and believe the Bible. So he's got to be a man who is not fearful of not having validation. Now, tell me how many human beings are like that. That's a really difficult level of consciousness to have, right? To not be bothered about having the confirmation and validation of other people.
Absolutely.
To actually know that this woman and I love ourselves and we are doing this thing together. Because if you're thinking from that perspective, you are going to now not be thinking, I would like to do this, but because I don't have the wherewithal, I can't do it, and I don't want to ask this woman. What you're going to do is you're going to think about the things that help to promote your family or your relationship, and you will have that conversation with the woman. It will be nice if we could do this, that, this will make us this, it will make you this, it will make you that. By the time you present that to her, So now you're not coming with money, you are coming with intelligence, right?
Absolutely.
Because I may have the money, but you may have the brains.
Absolutely.
Come and beat me at that. Bring your ideas, right? When you bring those ideas that get me so excited, I will be so grateful that I have a man like you beside me. Do you understand? And he will wake me up in the morning and say to me, Tokwe, this your career that is like this. Do you know you could do this, that?
Absolutely.
He's telling you things that are going to promote you because he knows that you have what it takes to do that thing. This is not a matter of fear of God.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he celebrates you.
It's not a matter.
As a woman, you're a woman as well. So if, as women, you have a man like that, what's your response going to be? You're going to love it.
Do you know what you're going to? Do you know what your response is going to be? Your response is going to be. There was a man I was having a conversation with this morning. Oh, well, I saw his comments on my post and I had to respond to it. There are men who already just feel like, the world sends you ideas, right? The world sends us ideas and we don't know that we're being programmed. Do you know what we are being programmed for? Or in fact, we have been programmed to be men against women. I've known this for years, right? And I say nonsense. Do you understand? So when you're coming from the mindset of, and it started from the beginning when the people who wrote, I'm going to say this, they're going to say whatever they want to say, people who inserted those things in the Bible, at that time, listen, this is part of how I say, this is part of why I know that a man is the leader in a relationship. Just naturally looking at us, he's got the strength, the physical strength. Am I going to, if anything is happening, he's the one who will protect us. He's the leader. There's nothing we can do about it. And so therefore, they were the ones who took charge of the society and they were making the policies. Even right now, the people who make the policies are the ones who dictate what is law, what is not, what makes sense and what, even when they tell us that nonsense is what makes sense, they've put it in the policies, so we're now living with it. If you want to go to a washroom where they have said that anybody can get into that washroom, even if your 7-year-old daughter wants to get in there, and they say that even men can go in there. If they made those policies, what are you going to do? If your 7-year-old boy is going there, they say anybody can go in there. What are you going to do? You understand what I mean? So they made those policies, and they came out to say, "Oh dear, where was I going?" So they I have to remember where I was going.
Talking about policies that men are born leaders.
Yes.
Men are supposed to take the lead in relationships.
Gosh, I don't know where I was going.
Men are the ones making policies. That was what you were talking about.
Yeah. So the point is, I really had a cogent point that I wanted to make. So anyway, so
it's okay. Come back to
so I'm saying that there's a lot of social conditioning, right? And so so I was saying that men have been the stronger ones. So they were the ones who took charge of things and they were running the society. And because they were running the society, I can't remember where I was going with this. Of course they put things, it's just like let's say the Francophone countries and the way that France has behaved with the Francophone countries, right? How can you say you're giving a country independence and then you tell them that they have to collect my own money, I have to come to you to ask you and sign something. Do you understand? And you put that in writing and you have it signed. So it's the same thing. Anybody who is in charge writes the policies to suit them. And that is what happened because it was the men who were in charge, right? And they wrote everything in a way where it's like a declaration. It is us. That's why in the Bible you hear them make it sound like, even when they're preaching, they make it sound like the women are to shut up and sit in the back. But it's the same Bible. But if you're really following that same Bible, the Bible tells you only two things: the way to relate with God and the way to relate with other people. And so that's where I go from. So once I see you, you must know that you cannot treat me the way that you don't want to be treated. And you will not find me doing that to you. The moment you do that, I know that I'm canceling you. So I don't even remember where I was going. I don't remember.
That's fine.
Anyway.
That's fine. I'm sure we will come to you. I'm really watching the time because I don't want to hold everybody on for too long. I think we should now talk about solutions.
Yeah, Richard. Yes, I was blunt. I was blunt because the guy needs a wake up call, because that guy is living in
Yeah.
sorrow because of his mindset and the way he looks at life. And I've seen him before making comments on my stuff, and he always talks down on women. And when you talk down on women, it means that when you get into a relationship, you'll be treating that woman like you
100%.
want to dominate her. And the funny thing that people don't understand is that when you want to dominate her, you don't, when, if you actually succeed in getting a woman that you dominate, it's like when you get a quiet, silent partner because you want someone who does everything that you say. Do you know that you're going
You
to
see.
despise her? You're going to despise her because all of a sudden you'll be looking
Mm-hmm.
at her like this dumb person
Gosh.
doesn't even know, and you will not even respect her. And then that thing that
Yeah.
you wanted, the very thing that you wanted, is the very thing that now makes you this not want the relationship. Because it actually goes against the law of nature. We have to treat the other person the way you want to be treated.
Was to be treated. Awesome. Thank you so much, Uzo. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to bring it in. Let's talk about solutions. Let's talk about what women can do. And there's just one other aspect, though, that I didn't talk about, and that's the woman that's not financially independent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the woman that is broke and poor.
Mm.
That's the woman that has a lot of responsibility. That's the woman that might be a single parent with 2-3 kids. She might be a widow that needs to get her kids educated. What sort of dynamics or what sort of challenges will this kind of woman face in relationships? Because I'm looking at the flip side now. Because again, she has a need, isn't it? She has a need to be comfortable. She has a need to be housed. She has a need for a man to help her educate her children, for example. And would you advise that she should just rush into a relationship because someone is there to provide for her? What are some of the red flags again there? And what would your advice to that kind of woman be? I mean, I have stuff in my mind about this sort of woman, but what would you like to say to that kind of a woman?
If you ask me, I think, just as I've been preaching, we have to be balanced. You have to treat the next person as yourself. I cannot look at myself as a woman and expect that. I mean, the same way that you don't want a man to come in to use a woman for her resources, is the same way. Is actually the same way that a woman should not be going in there to use a man for his resources. Although she has a softer landing because of the way society is positioned and looks at these things, right? So society already gives us that leeway that a man can be, right? But it's that same thing that can actually put you at the greatest risk. I don't even know why I was thinking about this. I don't know if maybe it's because of this topic. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday. I was thinking of a woman. It just came into my mind, thinking about a woman who is stuck because she has no way to get away from an abusive man, and it almost got me panicking. Do you understand? I don't know why that's, yes. So I think it was because of the 3 things you sent to me yesterday, actually. So you really don't want to be in that kind of situation. So first of all, you're thinking, if I get into this man can take care of me, he can help me, he can do this, he can help my children and all that. But do you realize that if you walk into that lion's den and it happens to be a hungry lion or a wild lion, do you know that even getting away from a relationship that you are tired of, even when the person is not an abuser or difficult, that's enough to get people killed. Right? It is enough to get people killed because anything can happen. Anything can happen in the psyche, right? So yeah. So imagine now you get in there and this man knows that he's been providing everything for you, right?
Yep.
And he's also an abuser. You are finished. You're finished because yes. So it's just better for us to remember that let's just go back to the way we're supposed to move in this world as human beings. We're supposed to be treating the next person as we want to be treated, right? But I said we have a softer landing. So if we get in there as a woman, before you even get into a relationship with a man, be sure, like those things that we first mentioned, be sure that this man is a stable person. They're stable. People don't deliberately decide, I'm just going to be wicked. Yes, some people do, right? But a lot of people are working from trauma, from things that have twisted their minds, right? and their brains have already been shaped in a way where all they think about is themselves. You need to watch out for this type of person. So who are you going to? Who is this man that I want to marry? Is this someone that another person can feel safe with? And okay, so I say let's always try to step away from ourselves. Step out of your body. Because you know what I find? Do you know that the more you do for other people, the more you do for yourself? If you're someone who is able to love other people, even if you don't have children, or if you have children, or if you have siblings, if you're actually able to love other people, if you care about other people, it'll be easier for you to care for yourself. You know why? Because a lot of the things that you accept for yourself, if you're not that kind of person who is very conscious, you won't sit by and watch someone else go through it.
Yep.
So the moment you realize, I cannot watch someone else go through this, that's enough for you to know, therefore, I cannot go through this myself. So whatever someone is, so you're going to have to step back always in a relationship and imagine that relationship that you're in, that it's your sister or your child or your newborn baby. Let's say your newborn baby who you are giving to this man. Do you think you would feel okay for a person like this to take care of your newborn baby or your egg? Use that to weigh the person. Because I know a woman, who, I know two women, in fact, recently, I heard the second one. If you're going to marry someone and he says to you, you have to declare your assets to me. Show me your assets, show me everything, show me your bank account, show me everything that you have.
Wow.
And then he says, and then you say, but why do you want that? And he says, if you don't show me, we're not getting married. He doesn't say, he doesn't come with valid reasons. He comes threatening you that we're not getting married. And this is because these two women are older women. They are these mature single women that you're talking about, right? So he already knows that this woman wants marriage. And so she's tied to the outcome of what she wants. So that even when she sees something directly that is telling her, there's nobody that you will say this to that will not tell you, this man is just after something else. He doesn't care about you, because why would he say, I'm not getting married? If you love me, why would you say you're not getting married simply because you're not seeing my answer? You're not telling me that it's because you want to know if I'm going to put you in debt. You are telling me that I just want to see your assets, otherwise I'm not getting married. That means you're trying to hold me to ransom. You know?
Absolutely. I know. Sorry to interject there. Thank you so much, Richard. Richard is saying
get something doing.
Should have something that will make them confident and will enable them confront difficult situations. And that's what I also say. No matter, you don't have to be a millionaire, but have enough to rent a one-bedroom flat for yourself and your children. Even if you have to sleep on the floor.
Have enough to rent a one-bedroom flat. That's a one-bedroom apartment.
You understand? For you and your kids, or even a room and parlor.
So that you can step out if you need to.
You can step out if you need to. But when you find that everything you need is coming from the man, that can be a good thing, but it can also be weaponized. And that can be to your own detriment. Now, talking about asset declaration for the mature single older woman, especially in the diaspora, these days I know people are doing credit checks on before they will start dating you, before they would even talk to you. They run a credit check. And for those that don't know this is kind of looking at, look at your assets and your liabilities, and it comes up with a score. The lower your score, the worse you are. The higher your score, the better you are. And so maybe, really, let's face it, when the emotional part is taken care of, maybe it's time to actually sit down, look at the man's credit score, and look at your credit score. You may want to do that. The other thing that I really want us to touch on, especially for those of us in the diaspora, is prenuptial agreements.
No. I love that. I love that.
And prenuptial agreements, and I've been trying to keep a lot of things to myself, and I'm trying to keep this till next year, but I think I'm going to spill the beans. As a mature woman, when I got into my last relationship, I'm always grateful to a gentleman, a relative, that called me aside, because all the red flags were there. The love bombing was there. The sending me flowers all the time was there. The calling me, and I'm not exaggerating, 20 to 30 times a day, call and text.
We'll have to talk about this as a full episode on its own.
It's for 2025. I'm going to be starting a series around that. I got on, and my cousin called me, and in 6 months he wanted marriage. My cousin said, it's all good. It looks so wonderful. He's so much in love. My emotional brain was on overdrive. It was on steroids. I could not think straight. And to make it worse, there was voodoo as well. So I was under a grip. And my cousin said, wake up, girl. Do a prenup. I'm not saying don't get married to this guy. I'm not saying, but do you know, I went to the lawyer. He told me how much. I was like, oh my God, so much money just to do this simple prenup. The guy said this will be the best money you've ever spent in your life. 6 years later, the marriage hit the rocks. And if not for that prenup, I'll probably be in a mental home now. That saved me, because that would have meant I would have lost 50% of everything I had, and I had worked for over 40 years at the time. And my daughter would also have suffered for it. And this gentleman would have walked away and lived life and moved on.
Happily ever after without you.
Happily ever after without. So what's your take on doing a prenup?
Oh, you know, that was one of the first topics that I did on my platform. Prenuptial agreements. Okay. I said I think Nigerians are ripe for this now, because it's been happening. It's been happening out in the West, but for us, because we like to take decisions on emotions, you know. So I said no. I think that's why we have this conversation. That's why the platform was started. These are the things that we're not thinking about that we should be thinking about. Prenups are a wonderful thing. They're a wonderful thing, and I would say that everybody should start considering that now. Right? And if you're actually both decent, what is wrong with having a prenup between two decent people? What is wrong with that?
Exactly.
Right? But again, things happen, and the truth is that a prenuptial agreement, so that you have an agreement that you both sign before the nuptials, before you get married, stating what happens with your finances, with your assets, right? Yeah. So that's very important. And it shouldn't cause if you're two decent and mature people, it actually should not cause a problem. But again, those people, if you don't want it, you don't need to come on here and start arguing that it's a bad idea, right? State your facts. You don't like it. You think it breeds mistrust. Fine. Then marry the person that you want to be bargaining on, because when I talk, the truth is everything you say, you are a prophet to a certain group of people. You're not for everybody. Isn't it? You're not for everybody. So those who think like that, if you think it makes sense to you, join our boss and let's be on our merry way. If you think that it breeds distrust and all that, we're all limited by our understanding and expanded by our understanding. This is my understanding of things and of life because of the way that I've seen things, right? And I don't think that it's any problem between two mature, decent people. There's nothing wrong with that. But someone else will see it and say it breeds distrust. You are not wrong either. You know your kind, just go with your kind, and I'll go with my kind. Because if I don't go with my kind, it means that we are unequally yoked. And that's when we'll be knocking heads together. I don't like arguments. You know why? Because you are not necessarily wrong. And everything that I believe in my mind is what plays out in my life. Because if I believe that Olumba is God, I will be waiting and waiting for him to resurrect, right? So if you anything you believe is going to play out in your life. So if you believe in marrying someone that you want to bargain and you want to put things on, hoping that the best, throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks, go for it. Go for it. But for me, I have a table and I have things that I draw a line in between. I'm also a business analyst. I draw a line in between. And on the left, the positives, the negatives, and on the right, under A, I put my A on the right, the positives. Yeah. And I have to check and uncheck what works and what doesn't work. And then somebody will tell me that I am too factual and I am not emotional. No, I am so emotional, you have no idea, right? But because I know that I am so emotional, I've got to put checks in place, right? Because I can't trust my emotions. They're going to lead me into a pit. So that way, even if it is my mother or my father, I used to, my late mother, my darling, precious mother, she's late now. When I will
Oh.
disagree with her, she will call my aunt and she'll be crying. She will be like, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you cry. You can cry from today till tomorrow and report me if you like, right? But I know what I am saying, and I am not going to bow to
Mm.
your blackmail, and I still love you.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
if you just follow
Exactly.
emotions and sentiments, you're screwed.
You lose out.
You're screwed.
Absolutely. You are, and a lot of women, unfortunately, have found themselves in this sort of situations where they have gone in with all of their emotions and they've been burnt badly, especially in the diaspora. It's not a bad thing. And a man that sincerely cares about you will not mind you writing a prenup or signing a prenup on both sides. Just a few closing remarks. I want to really thank you, Zo, for coming on the show. I believe that people have learned, and people that would watch this video, I hope you'll be able to give us some feedback, send in your questions, and we will definitely address them. So back to you, Zo, for a few closing remarks on money matters for the mature single woman.
Thank you very much, Tope. Yes. Oh, Richard says thank you for sharing your story. Yes, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you very much for having me on here. And I want to apologize because when I speak, sometimes I speak so emphatically, and I guess that's why some people will say that I am I am just so factual and strict. You have to be strict, because see, life is you have to be balanced, right? I am trying to tone down my tone because, I don't. I am trying to tone down, but
You
my
are who
thing
you
is,
are.
you have
So
to.
you are who you are.
You have to.
You are who you are, and it's beautiful. I don't think you have to tone down anything personally, because this is your authentic self. Be your authentic self,
I mean,
and I
yeah.
think it's good.
That's
Yeah.
life, because if you're bitter and you're too nobody wants you, but if you're too sweet, they're going to lick you up and spit you out. I have a friend who says that all the time. They will lick you like a sweet and they will spit and they will spit you out. Thank you, Richard, so much. Thank you so much for keeping us company. Thank you so much for all your remarks here that have helped us to further the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any closing remarks? Any take home for us, Uzo? Are we good?
Closing remarks. Yes. Yeah. Please don't forget. If maybe people find it difficult, you'll actually see sometimes that when people want to make when people want to when people want to make a remark on a conversation, they like to just follow one path. But life shouldn't be like that, right? Like just because you see this man again, that man this morning, you will never see me. You remember, talk when we had a discussion one day where I said there was something that you were saying, and I was like, I have to go back and let everybody know. No, 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 no. I don't speak for women, right? I don't speak for women. But the thing is, the reason you do that, I know, is because of your experience, right? And so you decided that you're going to focus on this because you don't want other women to fall into these things, right?
Absolutely.
So now, but you see, some people come out there and they just feel like, I'm going to speak for this, and just because I'm speaking for this, then every other thing on the other side has to be thrown out. But no, we have to find balance, right? Find balance and weigh things, right? Try to be fair, but let's not forget the fundamental rule of dealing with another human being on the face of this earth, which is the reason why we have what we have now, which is the reason why we're all in a mess, because we don't want to treat the next person as we would treat ourselves. Ask my siblings. If anybody just says, it's like, I shut you down, my love will not be gone. It will be there full, but I shut you down because you cannot come in and mess up my life simply because I love you. It can't happen. And that's how you should be. When you're speaking about something, try to be balanced and reason. Don't be unfair to the other party, right? Otherwise, if they do that to you, how would you like it? So let's always keep the fundamental rule in mind, and it will save us, because that way you can identify when someone is the wrong person, because they're not a person who deals in fairness. So
absolutely. Thank you so very much, Uzo, for spending your time and for the wonderful tips that you shared with us, for the balance in the discussion that we also had. I hope women out there, you've been able to learn something. Thank you, Richard. And for the men as well, I hope you've been able to learn one or two things from our discussion today. I'm still doing my series on finances for the mature single woman on Facebook and on Instagram. If you want to follow, I still share a lot of tips there, again, stemming from my personal experience. So I'm not just talking for the sake of talking. This is something I have lived, and this is not something I want other women to fall prey to. So thank you so much for joining until the next episode. Thank you very much, Uzo. Thank you to all the
It's
audience.
always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Natachi Ako is here. Tony Ekpe, Richard, and everybody else that has joined this live. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right.
Thank you, Fumilayo. How do you join me? You. All right. So do you want to answer and